All right, welcome back to 0 Mile ADV, a true beginner's guide to adventure motorcycling from a true beginner's perspective. Let's talk about the Honda CRF450RL, everybody's favorite topic. I think this bike gets more love out of any of my other videos that I do. People really love the Honda. So what are my thoughts after the first 600 miles? I have about 700 miles on it now. Note, this is a 2022. I bought it from a guy in southern Colorado. It only had 60 miles on it. It basically sat. He didn't really ride it. And so, yeah, I pretty much have put about 650 so miles on the bike now. So what are my thoughts? What do I like? What are my dislikes? With that, let's get into it. Okay, likes. One of the first things, now, caveat, before I get started, total side rant. Also, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, notification bell, all that good YouTube stuff. Most of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. Subscribing just lets me know I'm doing the right thing and lets me know that the work that I'm doing, you enjoy it, so just hit the button, it's free. Also, if you've caught any of my videos and you think they're terrible, leave a comment below, tell me why these are the worst videos on YouTube, in the Mean Green channel as well. So if you watch the other competitor, they're all over there as well. Doesn't seem to be a lot of motorcycle content over there, so I might be one of the only few over on the Mean Green channel. All right, with that being said, let's talk about some of my favorites, likes with the Honda CRF450RL. Now, for those of you that have been following my channel, this is 0 Mile ADV, so you know that I just started riding motorcycles about 2 years ago. So I don't have a lot of experience, hence the name 0 Mile ADV. True beginner's guide to adventure motorcycling from a beginner. So as someone who started from a 1290 Super Adventure S as my very first motorcycle, and I've slowly worked my way down to more and more off-road capable bikes. I never thought I'd really enjoy the off-road thing, but I do. And caveat, I love the mountain bike, so I should have known that I would have enjoyed getting off-road on a dirt bike. I cannot compare this to other bikes. I'm going off of the opinions of people who really know motorcycles, ride a lot of dirt bikes, motocross bikes, listening to their opinions compared to other bikes, and then how I feel personally. So that's kind of how I've gathered all my knowledge, because I haven't really ridden any other dirt bikes. I haven't ridden a KTM, I haven't ridden a Gas. I have ridden briefly the KTM 690, which is kind of like a super light adventure bike after the 890. But that was just kind of around a parking lot, no real big experience. I have ridden a Beta around a parking lot, but that's about it. So as far as like really getting some miles in, this is my first off-road dirt bike, for lack of a better term. So what do I really like about this bike? A, it's a plated bike that has great off-road capability. Now, listening to like a lot of motocross guys, I've seen professional motocross guys take this bike bone dry stock and rip it around motocross tracks, ripping jumps, doing all sorts of stuff on it. So it's super capable. So for me, when I was looking for bikes and I saw that, and I saw people that were actually out ripping this thing, that actually have a lot of skills on dirt bikes, and they could really rip it, I knew it would be a good bike. I was searching for something in the 500 range, like size wise, because I wanted enough power on the road that it wasn't going to be brutal till I get out here to be able to ride. Now this area here is pretty much in my backyard, so it's not that far. It's probably about a 3 or 4 mile ride before I'm back in BLM and I can kind of do a loop back home. But I wanted something I could ride on the road, because there's some other areas, but it takes me probably about a 25-minute ride on this bike through town to cut over there and get there and then ride. So the fact that it's plated, it came with all the lights, pretty much everything. I didn't have to like mod out a dirt bike to get it to pass DOT inspection to be able to then ride it. It pretty much came that way. And also, I mentioned I bought this bike with about 60 miles on it. So the nice thing is I got a heck of a deal on it. I pretty much saw the day that it was posted. The guy that was selling it really wanted a camper, really wanted to get rid of it. So I got a screaming deal on this bike. Is another reason I bought it. Another thing that I like about it is it's a Honda. So even our local dealer here, we actually had a Honda dealer. It kind of collapsed. Didn't have very good management. But the other dirt bike shop here on the Western Slope, All Terrain Motorsports, if you haven't been there, if you're in Western Colorado and you want an awesome shop, the guys over at All Terrain are pretty much really awesome. I bought my Norden from them as well. This channel's not sponsored by them. I just want to give credit where credit's due. Those guys are awesome. But they also, because they carry the other Japanese manufacturers, they carried all the parts for Honda. So it makes it super easy to get parts. And there's a massive dealer network. So if I ever take this bike somewhere, like I was in Moab, I know that if I have problems, there's probably going to be somebody that has parts for a Honda, especially in a place like Moab. So I love that it is a big brand, massive dealer network. Also, it's a Honda, so it should, like the other Japanese brands, have really good reliability. However, it does seem, based on the other research I've done, like the Yamahas do seem to do a little bit better as far as like reliability goes and just being able to beat them up. But they don't, Yamaha doesn't really have a bike in this range. I am really interested in the Yamaha WR250F, I think is what it is, and it is basically an enduro bike. It's not plated, it doesn't have the horn and everything else, but it'd probably be pretty easy to get that one plated because it does have the light in the rear tail light, etc. Anyways, I'm getting off track. So what's another thing that I like about it? I like it that it's light enough. It's under 300 pounds at basically a 450 that I can put it on the back of my truck. And if you can see back there in the back, that is the Grand Mesa. Sometimes the 30-mile ride to the Grand Mesa on these tires is brutal. So sometimes it's just more fun to load it on the back of my truck and then take it up there and go rip some trails, which is really fun. Again, if you've never been to Western Colorado, the Grand Mesa, largest flat top mountain in the world, it is a whole other world. As you can see, it's quite deserty down here, but up there it is very lush and green, and there's like over 200 lakes, so the ground's really wet. Really great place to ride. And the last thing that I think is probably my favorite thing about this, and it probably just comes down to my skill set, not necessarily the capabilities of the bike, is that I feel like this thing is a 50-inch Slayer. So if you, like me, and you aren't into dirt bikes, you don't know what that is, basically a 50-inch trail is a trail limited to vehicles only 50-inch wide. So you can think of it as like a 2-track. And a lot of times, especially up on the Grand Mesa, they have gates, so that only vehicles 50 inches wide or narrower can get through. And I feel like this thing, it is meant for those like 50-inch trails. It rips through there. It is just so much fun. I did just take this on some really tight technical single track for my skills up in Moab, up in the LaSalle Mountains. I have a video about that. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. And I got my butt kicked. But that is purely because of my lack of skills. The guy I was riding with, a local Moab native, he was on a Husqvarna 501, so similar sized bike, and he was having no problems. He's also way better than I am. So I also think you could definitely rip some decent single track on this thing. I don't know that I'm going to be doing like hard enduros or that kind of stuff on this bike. It is still pretty heavy. I mean, it's close to 300 pounds, but it's light enough. I can throw it on the back of the truck. It'll rip 50-inch trails. It'll do single track depending on how tight and technical it is. If you could find some really nice kind of like buff, smooth single track, this thing would be amazing. Especially the beginning of that single track, it was really, really nice. So what are some things about this bike that I don't really like? Okay, the first thing is the throttle response. I've had a lot of comments on my videos when I've talked about the throttle response in this. I have people on both sides of the spectrum. There's nobody really in between. It's either the bike is perfect, you don't have to do anything, I ride it all the time, it's amazing, don't worry about it. So I think I just got a comment today to somebody who's like, I also have the Honda, I put the throttle tamer on, I don't have the ECU yet, and it is still just awful. I will say, as the bike has broken in, it has gotten better. However, I will still say that I wish the power was more linear on this. Now that with the ECU that I got from Takamoto in the G2 throttle tamer, it is better. I feel like it does ride better down low. I just wish that it tractored a little bit more. Not like BMW GS 1250 Boxster engine tractor, like that thing will just climb up anything at like 1,000 RPM. But I feel like this could be better. And actually now doing a lot more research on a smaller bike like the Yamaha 250 WR250, which is their new trail bike, seems like that bike has really great linear power. So it is possible with a single engine thumper, as they're called. A lot of people just say it's the nature of a single cylinder bike, but it seems like Yamaha has it figured out. So I still think that I've gotten used to it, and I have the ECU, and I have the throttle tamer, so I have gotten used to it. But if I go out and ride my big bike, like if I come out here and do some of the wider tracks out here instead of some of the more deserty single track out here, and then I come back on this bike, it takes me a while to get used to it, just to the jerkiness of the bike. However, people like Big Rock Moto, he bought one because he really liked this bike, and he doesn't seem to complain about it too much. He did at the beginning, but I'll be interested to see how he mods it out. So On to the next thing. What else don't I like about it? I did a video on this on like why I wouldn't consider this like the ultimate lightweight ADV slayer. I know that Dork in the Road, I think is his name. He was actually just out in Moab at the same time I was. He has a video where he thinks it's like the ultimate BDR slayer. I would say if you're getting the ECU and then you're getting the throttle tamer and then you're putting on like an exhaust to kind of bring the power back and have the better power on the road, even with the 3-gallon tank, I'm getting about 100 miles before the gas light comes on. When I was riding in Moab, actually the guy I was with, he's like, oh, how big is your gas tank? And I was like, oh, three gallons. So I can do about 100 miles. And he was like, he thought I was lying. But the truth is we ended up doing 105 miles. I got back right at like 99 miles. The not the check engine light, but the gas light came on. And that was after spending 95% of the day in the kind of down-tuned enduro trail mode with the Get ECU. Now, I do think the bike runs richer in the enduro mode, on like the trail mode, mostly because you get a lot more pops, which means that there is spent fuel in the exhaust that is firing once it gets to the exhaust. I do have a spark arrestor, so that is in there. But you do get more pops with the bike. When you put it in the normal power mode, the exhaust is a lot quieter, not as much pop. So I think it tunes the airflow down. I'm not sure. I should look because you can connect to the Get ECU and look, but I just don't know enough about mapping an ECU to know what the percentages are. But based on the sounds, when I'm hearing, it sounds like the bike runs richer, less air going in, and so maybe the fuel economy isn't quite as good as it should be. So with that being said, if I was going to, with the short fuel mileage and doing like a BDR, it would just be a bit of a pain because sometimes you're doing 160 miles between stops, and that means you're gonna have to carry gas on top of everything else, and you're gonna be stopping a lot for gas. So I could probably, because the computer says I'm getting around 44 miles to the gallon. So it's just for the sake of math, let's just say it's 45 miles to the gallon, we'll push it an extra mile. So that's about 90 miles for 2 gallons. So that means another 135 miles for a full tank of gas before I'm completely dead. So at 100 miles, I could probably go, maybe if I have a half tank left, I could probably go another 20 miles or so. So with that being said, actually my math is off. I could do about another 35 miles. And then when the gas light came on and I filled it up, I did get about 2.5 gallons into it. So that would just be a bit of a nightmare. The second piece is, having done the Colorado BDR, this thing would be amazing on section 2 of the Colorado BDR. I actually would love to trailer my bike down to the San Juan Mountains, redo section 2 on this bike, because I think it would be a lot of fun, because it is more technical. I think it would make it a great day. It would be super fun, and there'd be a lot of tracks out there, maybe even do the whole Alpine loop, which would be super cool on this bike. But the rest of the sections is fast dirt roads. I would rather be on a 1290 Super Adventure R, and I would have bought one if my KTM dealer here was actually willing to sell me one. That's a whole other story. That was the bike I really wanted, that or the Nord 901 Expedition, but because my KTM dealer sucks, I ended up getting the Nord 901 Expedition. But for 80% of the BDR, I would want to be on the 1290 Super Adventure R, ripping those backcountry dirt roads, just the weight, the stability, all the traction control to keep it so you can rip through those corners. I would much rather be on a bigger bike for most of the BDR. And this could do it, but if you add weight in the crappy fuel mileage, I just don't know that it would be that awesome. So I still would not use this as my main BDR bike. So with that being said, whoa, one last thing. I did the first service myself. The guy that I bought the bike from had the service manual. That's the other thing that I really like about this bike. It is super, super easy to work on. All the mods I've pretty much done myself. I did my first service, and most of the break-in services I've been taking to the dealer just to make sure everything's good. But on this one I did it myself. It was super easy. It only holds about 1.25 quarts of oil. Super easy to work on. Everything, that's probably the other great thing. Yeah, really easy to work on. So with that, if you made it this far, leave a comment below. Tell me why you think this is the worst YouTube channel out there, why you don't like my glasses, why my hair sucks today with this helmet hair, why you think my videos are awful, why you hate the Honda CRF450RL. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that YouTube stuff. And until next time, stay safe out there.